What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications if you like the content. If you're looking for anything trucking information wise, this is the spot for you. Okay, let's get right into it. The video is going to be about detention and what it is. Okay, a lot of people aren't familiar getting into it as rookies, and then some of you other guys about going how to get it from your brokers or customers. And the cold facts are, guys, that it's just really tough to get. Sometimes your brokers aren't going to want to get it or give it to you. Sometimes your customers are just going to avoid it. And then sometimes you just have situations where it's kind of a nuisance. So the industry standard is kind of everybody knows that they're not going to pay you for 2 hours, right? So anything after the 2 hours that you've been there, they'll consider paying you for it. And every company is different. If you look at their company policy, or if you go into the Raycon, some of it will explain it. But usually it's $25, $50, $75. Sometimes you could negotiate $100 for that detention time or layover time. But usually it's around, $50 an hour. And it's usually after that 2 hours that they would count. Okay, so the 2 hours, they wouldn't count. The rest of the time they would count. But you have to think about it. If the rate was really good and you have a good relationship with that broker, right? Do you want to be the guy that's constantly coming back for detention for $50 or $25 or whatever, right? Say you were there for 2.5 hours. Are you really going to go back and make somebody have, another job, submitting paperwork, something to do that they're not getting paid for to submit to the customer as far as a broker goes, and have them go after that for you for another $25? I mean, is it really worth it for the aggravation? So that's where you kind of have to see what you want to do and what your beliefs are and what you're going to do with your company. Now, for us, something like that, we're not even going to mess with it. We're going to say, look, you was there for 2.5 hours, guy. The load paid $2, $3, $4 a mile, whatever it is. I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm not going to bother the broker. I'm not going to bother the customer. So those brokers and customers and shippers kind of get the idea that, hey, this company has a good reputation of just not being a pain in my ass, not being a headache, doing what they say they're going to do and doing a good job. But if you're constantly, becoming that person that is asking for detention all the time I was there for 2.5 hours, I was there for, 3 hours, I need that hour of detention, whatever, then they're going to think about that every time you call back to book another load with them. And they're going to say, man, do I really want to do business with this guy? Because every time it's about detention. And I know I'm sending him to the same shipper. They're probably going to load him in 3 hours, or maybe it's 4 hours, and he's going to want to come back to me for, $50, $100 or whatever. And I get the fact that sometimes you may have something set up that another partial or whatever that could cost you money. Now that is a different situation, because if they said they would load you and you were there for, say, 4 hours, right? And you come, you had another partial set up. This is the trouble with booking LTL freight, guys, or less than load, is that you're booking these partials, and the times for pickups and delivery sometimes can be tight. So you run into situations where if they hold you up for 4 hours loading you at your first pickup, you can't make it to the second one, and then you look bad to that broker, customer, shipper, or maybe they blacklist you and they won't use you or whatever, right? So then you would come to the broker and say, hey, look, you got, I need this detention. You guys cost me this other load or whatever. Now, the other times, things that come into detention, or what detention really is, it's not always just them taking a long time to load you. Sometimes you get there and they say this load can't be picked up until tomorrow, or it's not going to be ready until tomorrow. So they may, call you back, and you call the broker and they say, hey man, I can't get this thing loaded. It's not even ready today. What the heck, blah, blah. So then they'll either go back to the customer or back to the broker, and they'll negotiate a rate that you're willing to take. They may ask you, what would you, charge me to lay over until tomorrow to pick up this load? And you could say, oh, $500, I'll wait till tomorrow, or whatever you derive at your negotiation tactics. Sometimes it's $250, $500. It's usually about $500 for us for something like that. So you'll wait till in the morning to pick it up. And that's if you were there early and they had you waiting all day, just empty, right? If you get there at the end of the day, say 4 o'clock, and they say this thing has to be picked up at 8 in the morning, well, you missed the deadline. If their shift stops at 4 and they're not loading any trucks, you're not necessarily going to get paid for that. You're just screwed. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow. But if you get there at, say, 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. and they're like, oh, we thought it was going to be ready. It's not going to be ready. We need you to wait until tomorrow to pick it up. Then you'll go back to the drawing table and, renegotiate a rate for sitting there and waiting, right? And you may not want to. You may say, no, I'd rather just look for another load. But usually that, late in the day, it's tough to recover and get something else. Also, you want to stay on the load and make the customer happy, make the broker happy, and things come up, guys. So that's part of detention, basically, is, you're not necessarily getting it because they were late on loading you, but you might be getting it because the product was supposed to be ready, it's not ready, or they got it out of production and they found a flaw in it, before they wanted to send it out, they had to correct the flaw. So it had to go back to a finishing table or whatever to fix the problem. So even though they thought it was going to be ready, it's not going to be ready, whatever it is. So they'll have you sit there and pay another $500. Even sometimes in our case, we've been paid $1,000 to just wait until the next day to pick it up so that we could then take it on, you know, and basically they just want to hold that truck there, right? So that's, you know, one way that you can go back at it, say, hey, I'm not wanting to say, you know, I want to leave and just, you know, forget it, guys, but can you pay me for staying over? And sometimes they'll say, no, we won't. You know, you're welcome to try to find something else and we'll find another carrier to pick this up. So at that point, guys, you guys would go back to the drawing table and you guys kind of have to really derive at what you want your company to be known for. Do you want it to be known for, you know, paying the ass and headaches and going back for detention for an hour? You know, for $50 when they actually, you negotiated a good rate on the front end or they gave you a really good rate. So that's up to you guys. You have to figure out how you want to build your business plan and what you want your company to look like. You know, but that's basically what detention is. Detention is getting paid for waiting to longer than normal to get loaded. They consider normal to be 2 hours. So if you get there and you're in line, they have the trucks to load or they take a long time to load you or they're not ready, they went to lunch, you're just screwed because 2 hours is the industry standard for free, right? Everything after the 2 hours, then they consider that they might pay you for whatever that is, right? So maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If it gets to where you're waiting a long period of time, guys, and it gets to be ridiculous, depending on the relationship that you have with that broker, agent, or customer, you may just, you know, cut your losses. If you haven't heard anything and it's not looking good at, you know, 5, 6 hours, you might just say, you know what, forget this and leave out. Unless you call your broker or customer and say, hey, what's going on here? Or, you know, I've been here for all day. This is ridiculous. You know, what's your plan? Are you planning on paying me for this time? Stuff like that. So that's basically what detention is, guys. And then sometimes you'll get to a shipper and they'll give you what's called a tonneau, a truck ordered not used, which means you get over there, and especially in a hotshot situation, the load is supposed to be 20,000 pounds or under, and it's actually 25 or 30,000 pounds, so you can't even load it. If there was a mistake made by the broker or the customer, then they should pay you a truck order not used, which is usually like $250. It's kind of standard. Sometimes it's 150. Different companies, different brokerages do it differently. 250, I think, is fair, guys. That's what it should be. Anything less than that, you're kind of getting screwed, especially if you deadheaded 100 miles or whatever. Your fuel, your time, no matter how long it took to figure out that situation, you could have been tied up for 3 or 4 hours, you know, by the time you drove there, figured all this out. So, you know, try to get those truck order not used for 250. And if you don't even know you're supposed to ask for that, make sure if that happens to you and it is their fault, then you try to get that truck order not used, that tonneau, submitted to you, okay? I'm gonna do another video, just sidestep on that. But the truck order not used is everybody, that's kind of a standard. You know, if they order the truck and they don't use it, or for instance, if they order the truck, some companies shop things to like 4 different brokers, 5 different brokerages. And that thing could have left out on Friday and nobody notified anybody and the wires got crossed, and a broker sends you in to pick it up on Monday thinking that it's still there, but it actually got sent out on Friday. Well, at that point, then the brokerage is responsible and they need to pay you, you know, that truck order not used for going in there and wasting your time when they didn't even call to double check to make sure the commodity was there. Or maybe they did and the customer, you know, got their wires crossed, something happened and they didn't ask Joe next door if it had got sent out Friday and he didn't tell them, so they ordered the truck. At that point, it's the customer's responsibility to pay the brokerage, which would then in turn pay the carrier, you know, that truck order not used fee, basically. So detention is just, you know, basically anything after 2 hours that you can get from the shipper or customer or broker for, you know, delaying your time. But again, like I said, if you're going after $50 and you've been there 3 hours, it's really not even worth it, guys, because the fight, the hassle, the paperwork, you got to go back and forth to get it. Usually I don't start, you know, asking for detention for the guys, or even if it is something kind of frivolous, I'll pay it out of my cut to, you know, instead of going after them. And I've had situations where the brokers just say, no, we're not paying that. And they had them tied up there for 4 hours and they just, you know, or they just don't answer the phone, they ignore it. So at that point, it's harder to get and more difficult to get in the industry. Every single day it gets harder to get there. It's just like, if we fight it, the brokers assume if we fight it, the customers assume if we fight it, what's the trucker going to do? He has nothing, no recourse of action. He's going to take our freight next time because we have loads and they need loads. So that's kind of, you're in that dependent phase where if you don't have direct customers or relationships that are going to treat you better than that, and you're using the spot market, you're using the sporadic freight and chasing freight, you're going to end up with a lot of situations where you don't get detention, you don't get truck order not used, and you get screwed, and you drive 4 hours to go pick up a load, and the load's not even there because it was sent out last week and nobody notified anybody. And then that new brokerage is not going to pay you for wasting your time to go over there. It's happened to us many times. Myself driving over there, and it's happened to me many times. So, but anyway, guys, that's what detention is, and a truck order not used is. So you need to be asking for those things. You need to figure out what your business plan is and how you're going to go about, putting a plan in place for those things. But again, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. If you want to keep the party going, here's the next video.